Now, before we get started, I'm sure you're noticing a couple of things right off the bat. Number one, you can actually see this instead of just this. And that's okay. Every once in a while I have to mix it up and actually show you my face for certain reviews. Some others you're going to get mostly my hands showing you the product, but every once in a while I like you to see the real me. The second thing you'll notice is that I'm not in the office, I'm actually at home. I didn't want to let being out of the office stop me from bringing you guys new content and addressing some of the things that you were asking for by email. And one of the things you guys always ask us about is Apple Watch Series 2. So I thought we'd do a little piece here where we talk about 5 things you may not know about Apple Watch Series 2. But let's start with the 4 things that we do know about it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people that are interested in this watch will know. The 4 main factors that separate it from the original Apple Watch. Series 2 now has GPS built in. It is waterproof, has a newer, better, faster processor, and a brighter screen. But what do those things actually mean to you in terms of day-to-day use? And are there certain other little things you may want to know as to how these things work? So here we go, 5 things you may not know about Apple Watch Series 2. The first thing you may not know about Apple Watch Series 2 is that it has incredible battery life, much better than Series 1, which is interesting since Apple never talked about a bigger or better battery. But battery life is usually a result of 3 things working together in harmony. Hardware, which includes the device and its battery, software, the software that actually runs the hardware, and of course, how you use the device. All these things together will determine what kind of battery life you get, not just for your Apple Watch, but for any device. So let's look at those 3 things right now. Hardware. Well, we know that Apple Watch, Series 2 has a new Series 2 processor, but not a new battery. Software. I'm pretty much running the same software I was running when I had my original Apple Watch. And in terms of how I use it, I'm using it, if not a little more, a lot more than I was using my original Apple Watch. So here I am using the Series 2 Apple Watch more than I ever used the original. It has, from all that we know, the same battery, but a new processor that does maybe a better job of managing power on this new device. And I'm getting at least 50 to 60% more battery life over the last few weeks of usage than I ever got with my Series 1. So you'll be happy to know, even though they don't talk about it and they don't advertise it, Apple Watch Series 2 has much better battery life. The second thing you may not know is that brightness does matter. Now, I said at the beginning, one of the 4 things that Apple talked about was the fact that this watch, Apple Watch Series 2, does have a brighter screen. Much brighter. In fact, more than twice as bright. They use the measurement nits, which is a measure of brightness. The original Apple Watch had 450 nits. This one has 1,000 nits. So we know that it's more than twice the brightness. But what does that mean to you? For a lot of people that are used to thinking about a computer screen, maybe a phone screen or a tablet screen, sometimes when you crank the brightness all the way up, it's not necessarily a good thing. It causes eye fatigue, headaches. You don't want to look at the device with a bright screen for too long. Apple Watch is a little bit different. It doesn't work that way. Because it's on a smaller screen, it makes everything pop that much better. Everything looks clearer, brighter, and it really does make a difference when you look at this watch. When you compare it to, the original Apple Watch, you'll see a huge difference, especially when you go underwater. That's where you'll really notice this watch still pops. You can see everything crystal clear, even in broad daylight. Even in broad daylight, while you're in the water, things look much better. So the brightness isn't just a bullet point, it really makes a difference with Apple Watch Series 2. The third thing you may not know about Apple Watch Series 2 is exactly how the waterproofing works, or what you have to do to help yourself when it comes to having a water-resistant experience with Apple Watch Series 2. Now, one of the cool things you can do, and one of the things Apple really wants you to do, is to put your Apple Watch Series 2 into water mode. So if you bring up the control panel on your watch, you'll see a little water droplet, and you touch that, that will put your Apple Watch into water mode. Now, what that does is, a lot of people think that actually, once you touch that, it closes up and seals up the watch. That's not really how it works. What happens is, it locks the screen so that when you're in the water, the input from the water doesn't affect anything. It's going to stay on that main screen. Accelerometer will still work. You can still turn your wrist and look underwater at your main screen, but it's only going to give you the information that you have on the main screen of your watch face. The other thing it does is, when you come out of the water, it forces you to take the watch out of water mode by twisting the digital crown, at which point it'll start to emit this series of beeps that will cause vibrations inside the speaker and force the water out. Why does it do this? Because a speaker is nearly impossible to make waterproof. because speakers rely on air to get into the speaker to actually be able to make sound. Speakers need air to make sound. So they couldn't all the way seal off this speaker. So what do? They make sure that when you come out of the water, you turn the digital crown, that series of beeps goes off, puts the water out, sets your watch as good as new. Of course, they always recommend, especially if you were swimming, doesn't matter if you were doing ocean, freshwater, chlorinated pool water, they always recommend rinsing off so there are no chemicals left on your watch. If you're in the shower, not a big deal, but if you're going swimming with your Apple Watch, you're definitely going to want to give it a little rinse afterwards. So there you go. The waterproofing may not have been exactly what you thought, but it works great, and the digital crown causing that sound to push the water out of the speaker, really cool. The fourth thing about Apple Watch Series 2 that I think you're really going to like is it has much better connectivity. Now, on the hardware side, Apple didn't tell us anything that would result in better connectivity. It still sports Bluetooth 4.0. We don't know on this new series, on this new chip, this new system on a chip, if a better Bluetooth or a different Bluetooth radio was actually on there. They didn't say anything about that, and Apple usually doesn't like to report too much about the inner workings of their watch. But in terms of specs that have been advertised, it seems to be the same Bluetooth system that was in the original, yet I have not lost connectivity once with my new Apple Watch Series 2 with my phone. I have not lost any connectivity. I don't know about you guys. A lot of the watches I tested and people that I spoke with said that they did lose connectivity fairly frequently between their watch and their phone. I haven't experienced this not one single time. So kudos to Apple if they managed to do this on the back end without changing that much, except maybe, as I said, system on a chip, slightly better or different Bluetooth receiver or radio, I don't know. But what I do know is the connectivity is something they don't talk about, and it is much better on Apple Watch Series 2. The last thing you may not know about Apple Watch Series 2, and this is something you're really going to like, it is just plain fast. The new Series 2 processor, again, not a bullet point, not a bragging point, not something they mention because it sounds cool or looks good on a spec sheet or in a PR, a press release. It actually works really well. Your apps open faster, they close faster, they perform better. The graphics look smoother. When you hit the digital crown and you see the icons for all of the apps on your watch and you use your finger to manipulate them, you'll see how much smoother everything looks. It's kind of like the difference between iPad Pro, the new one, and the older one with the 120 hertz screen on the new one, how smooth everything looks. I almost feel it's the same sort of difference between Apple Watch Series 2 and the original. Performance is off the charts, great. Again, no lag with my apps, no jitteries, it just works, and I think this is a feature that's going to maybe be the biggest deal because how your watch performs, how it uses the apps and your everyday use, this is something that's going to affect you every day, and the performance is fantastic. Well, there you go. 5 things you may not have known about Apple Watch Series 2. If there are other products you'd like us to talk about, 5 things you may not know about that product, let us know with a comment below. And if you like the video, feel free to give it a like. And most of all, please make sure you subscribe. Not only does it help us bring you these videos, it also makes you eligible for all of our giveaways. And if you follow us at all, either follow us on Twitter, listen to the radio show on SiriusXM, or are subscribed to the channel already, we give away some cool stuff. We just gave away a DJI Spark Fly More combo. We've given away some really headphones, some great stuff. The fact is we get a lot of stuff sent to us by a lot of manufacturers. We can't keep it all. As much as we'd like to, we can't. So we figure the best thing to do is give it to the people that help us do what we do. And giving it away to you guys is something that you guys enjoy and something that brings us some joy too. So again, hope you enjoyed this little bit of extra insight into Apple Watch Series 2, and we will see you on the next one.